Hello, hello, hello. I'm gonna do the thing this time that I always forget. Captain's log, stardate 35148679. I did my weekly review this time, and I tried to do a little bit of backlog to try and get some of the stuff that I didn't end up recording, or that I didn't end up doing for my weekly review that I ended up skipping. So I've actually got a couple of things to talk about. And actually, interesting enough, I think I was just thinking about it. There's actually more things that I could have added to it. Like, I very recently just started using a brush pen that I have back when I was more interested in art, and I never really did anything with it, but the ink still works. And so I've been using that these last few days, and even been using a course a little bit to learn some stuff, although I am using it improperly. The course is called Drawbox. They recommend using a fine point pen, or a fine liner, I think they're also called. But I'm using the brush pen, which is very much not like that. But it's actually been pretty fun to do. I've been trying to make it so that heading towards bedtime, that I'm not doing too much with electronics. So after 8 p.m., I'm trying not having electronics, and that's when I've been doing the brush pen stuff. And I've made sure to not like write on any list or anything, or to like think that I have to do something, like I have to draw something or do something, because it's basically just, I can just do whatever I want, just so long as it's like not on my computer. And that's been nice so far. I'm hoping it stays nice. Maybe I'll get good at it in art while I'm at it. That'd be pretty nice. But other than that, I and yeah, I didn't even write anything about that in my review. Honestly, I I didn't really think about it. There's the review ended up being pretty long, being that I had to include some things from the week prior to that one. I would say the other most interesting thing that I'm willing to speak on would be a interview that I saw on Healthy Gamer with Pirate Software, that's another store, and Dr. K. It I'm surprised by how far ahead it seems like they both are. Like in a lot of Dr. K's interviews. I mean, obviously, no, Dr. K's makes it seem like he is, further ahead in the terms of like mental health, in like personal progress, so to speak, in like personal growth. Yeah, I think it's probably a great description. But most of his guests are usually coming on to talk about a problem that they have or have had or things they're struggling with. It isn't usually someone coming on to like just try and help people out with things they have like figured out ways to deal with, or to just ask questions on how to do certain things to like to make something that's already good even better. You'd have to watch the interview to really get the whole thing there. I'm not doing a great job of describing it here, but there was two things that I took from that stood out as being particularly interesting to me. One, and actually this they didn't talk about this very much. It was more like a side note, is making a list just merely, well, the way they were just discussing it, just merely for the sake of having made a list, which in my head takes it more closer to the idea of journaling just to get things out of your head. Or I took a little bit about this in the idea of using sketching as being almost like a form of journaling, in that you're doing it more so for the process of doing it than for the thing itself. It's like even if like the result of the thing wasn't very good, the act of having done it was valuable in of itself. And so I've been trying that the last few days. Let me see, I got it here. I have one, two, three, and I'm on my fourth list now. And what I've done is just in the mornings, I will add some things on it, like things that I want to get done that day. And I'm just making a list purely for the sake of making the list. For the sake of having a thought about what are the things I want to do today. And not so much like, oh, I have to absolutely do these things. And it's shifted the way that I'm treating them in my own head. It's no longer previously whenever I'd make a list, I I would almost intentionally not look at it because I didn't want to see all of the massive list of things that I needed to do, and I'd feel bad when I didn't get as many of them I wanted done, and such. That like overall making a list was really not something that was very beneficial to me, so I stopped doing it. But this kind of mindset shift, which is not something I've been able to previously do before. That's something that I wrote about in the review actually. Was I realized after doing this that this isn't something I would have been able to do in the past, to be able to shift my perspective or mindset, or like how I'm treating it, reframing, I guess. It's not something I would have been able to do very well. And I'm surprised by how much of a difference it's made. Making, I mean, it's only been 4 days, but making these lists has been almost nice feeling, which is so drastically different from more like the foreboding that making my previous lists would be, the amount of stress that they would cause me. It's pretty remarkable. But the other thing that I just noticed, and this one's more abstract than that, I'd say. They were talking about a third thing, like they're specifically talking about like how pirate software has a ferret rescue, and well, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember exactly. So take this with a grain of salt. If you want to know the details, you should go watch the interview. But he was Darth K was asking Thor why he was like, how was he able to make the decision to start a ferret rescue? And I mean, they had quite a bit of back and forth, but eventually they came down to like when making a decision to do something. There's like logic and emotions, and then there's like this third thing. And Thor had a good analogy, which isn't I don't think it's the same thing, and I think they also said it wasn't the same thing, but it feels somewhat similar, or the way it expresses itself is somewhat similar. And that's in like a fight or flight response, or like if you've had a moment in your life where like something serious has happened and you like need to immediately respond and do something. Now, this won't be relatable to everyone, I suppose, depending on how you react to such situations. But it's that like instantaneous like, oh, this is what I need to do. And I definitely the examples worked pretty well with me. That helped me to understand it. But he described the making a decision to do the fair rescue almost as like it wasn't even a decision. Like it was like, ah, this is something we need to do. Almost, and like I don't know. I think I've had a couple of moments like it's nothing with as big a decision where it's like, okay, like this is like, oh, this is like the right thing. Where you don't even like put in a whole ton of like consideration into something, and you're just like, yeah, this is the right thing to do. In a like more meaning or like purpose driven sort of way. But the way that they were both talking about it made it sound like that this is something not that happened on a regular basis, but something that could like become more frequent. Like the way they were describing it made it sound like it was much more frequent than moments than I've had. The moments that I could think of were usually quite brief and in not as meaningful things. 'Cause, making decisions related to like, what am I gonna do for the rest of my life? Such things like that. There's very few things where it's been like, ah, yes, this is the right thing, and it just felt right. Usually it was riddled with doubt and concern, and so it's interesting to know that that third thing, is something that you can, I don't know if it's right to say get closer to, but it can happen more often. And if I could get to a point in which some of these more purpose driven kind of questions, obviously, when it comes to questions of like, you know, a correct financial decision or making a business deal, those things may not have that because those are decisions more on like not so much a purpose thing, but a what brings the most like economical benefit or something. But in terms of purpose and, you know, meaning, if I could get some more of those kinds of third things, that third thing to saying when something is right or wrong, I think that would be very valuable. But I think those were the things I was most interested in discussing. There were a couple of other things that have happened, but not as interesting to discuss. Um, I guess one thing is that I've not got very long until I had wanted to release my game now. 11 days and 13 hours, according to my timer right now. Which I. The game will not be in a state that I had wanted it in at that time. But I am working on it. I am working on it. We'll see what it ends up being here in a couple weeks. Regardless, I will keep pushing forward with it. So anyways, that's the end of the video. If anyone sees this, feel free to ask a question in the comments for another video. I hear a weird squeaking noise in the distance. Anyways, see you later.